We are live on YouTube. Just get the recording going on my end. Record on this computer. And this is Male Entrepreneur Podcast, and we are live in 3, 2. All right, welcome back to Male Entrepreneur, the podcast for men who win, with your host, Purdeep Sangha. Purdeep, how you doing today?
I'm super excited, man. I'm always excited when I have a conversation with our guest coming up here. This guy is, well, if I could sum it up, I just call him a cool dude because he's just a super positive person. Every time we have conversations, I am always smiling. And as you can see, he's smiling as well. So I just want to welcome James Preston back to the show. Thanks, James, for joining us.
Great to be here. I'm sheltering in place in the beautiful state of Washington, USA. Sun peeks out, then a rainstorm comes up. I love it.
Yeah, you're a little bit north of where you usually are, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, usually I'm in Northern California. So I ended up buying a business a couple months ago. I do what I say. I think now it's more of a lesson. I take the philosophy life gives you lessons in the past, gifts today, and hope in the future. This one might have been a lesson, but we're making it work up here in South Seattle.
Oh, that's awesome. And so for the listeners out there that haven't heard the episode that we previously recorded, that was last year sometime. Can you just give them a quick insight in terms of what you do?
Yes, I seek leverage. If I was smarter, I'd be retired. But after 40 years, instead of starting businesses, typically I buy them. That does two things. Number one, it can build market share in your sector. So if you're a locksmith, instead of growing organically for a decade, you may look to buy one of your competitors or joint ventures. So for one thing, I've learned over the years to go ahead and buy a business, again, to build your market share. The other part of this is to look for breakthroughs and opportunities. When I look back on recessions of the past, and this is my fifth one, I was taught by my family, bought my first business in 1979, a commercial fishing business, and a lot of businesses since. I've learned that the human ability to change, especially for us men, often happens under pain. Let's be honest. You know, Tony Robbins teaches it, the good book does. I think you do too, Purdeep. So what I find is my own breakthroughs happen when I go into a new sector. So a second reason to buy a business, besides building market share, would be to look at jumping into something new. And certainly doing it during a COVID recession is a fairly advanced maneuver, maybe double black diamond, to use the ski idea. But I encourage it as something to do. Don't always be an operator, become an owner, as Tony Robbins teaches. And that's been my mantra. It tends to work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, so let me just add on to that is James is a professional when it comes to buying businesses. He's got a portfolio. He's done very well. And this is something that I think it's very important for every entrepreneur to pay attention to, because a lot of times we get consumed in running that one business that we have, our passion, the thing that we're good at. And a lot of people are learning right now, particularly in this time, that it can be a major risk as well to have a successful business. Because I've seen some of my clients that have just been flipped over and they're just having a tough time getting back. You know, we have some strategies to get them back on board. And some of them are actually doing very well. But, you know, again, it's a risk. Having a portfolio, just like any other investment, is important. And James is a professional. So let's just jump right into it, because you said something that really struck me last time we had a conversation offline. You said, you know what, from the last recession, I wish one of the lessons you learned was I wish I would have been a little bit more aggressive. So can you, explain that a little bit?
Well, a quick context. I looked back on the 2011 and 12 when I did buy a lot of real estate, for example, businesses too, but also real estate. When I sat down during my exits, I realized, talking with my team, seeing what I had made, that I didn't buy enough. I was about half as aggressive as I should have been. So the key point on this, male entrepreneur, we're taught to manage our testosterone, our mental state, our families, ourselves, and pour it into something that a warrior would do. So here's my thought. Every tragedy also has the other side of the coin. This is when most individuals build wealth. So with that context, cautiously, I would encourage us to see COVID as a buying opportunity. What am I talking about? For example, right now you can both finance a business at a much lower cost, meaning there's fewer buyers. So in terms of acquisition, your terms are better, and that often means nearly 100% seller financing from a motivated buyer. And number two, it also means that prices are down. Right now, know that investors and any capital individuals are looking for higher returns with greater risk. That creates the perfect Econ 101, supply and demand. So I would encourage any of the listeners, yes, I could be a resource. There's many others out there. Your podcast and live show is one of them. Be more aggressive, because this is the time to buy low and sell high later.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you touched on something there. And Nathan, I'll give you a chance to ask a couple of questions because I'm sure you're going to have some too. Is 100% seller financing, because a lot of the thing that stops people from buying businesses, that stops guys, is, well, I don't have the capital. So can you talk a little bit more about the seller financing?
I will. Let's go granular for just a minute. Recall what any asset can be purchased with three different kinds of funds, financing, if you will. Number one is your own cash or your own partner's cash. That's fairly obvious. The second idea is to get it from others. That's called friends and family. On the one case, a lot of us have done that. Certainly banks are an option, fintech companies. And then lastly, the one we tend to forget, it's because it's more of an older model. It works during times like this, is the seller financing. That means when I buy an asset, in this case, a small business, I'm looking at the seller and asking them, well, my goodness, I'm the only buyer here. I'm the only girl in high school, for example, to use a strange metaphor. And so listen, I need your help. I'm going to put about 10 to 20% of the acquisition price into my acquisition in the next 4 to 8 months. That's kind of typical. So if a business is 100 grand, I'm going to put about 10 to 15,000 into staff readjustments, learning curves, and things like that.
And we lost him.
Okay, well, pause.
Do a happy dance for the
Yeah, exactly. We'll just wait. Yeah, James,
Please,
you just
put 3 to 6 hours away. So I am my own assistant.
Oh, that's okay. We actually just lost you there for about 45 seconds or so. You still with us, James?
Yep. Hang on. Am I here?
Yeah, you're just cutting out.
Am I back here in South Seattle? Am I back here?
Yeah.
I can see you. Hi.
Okay. So we lost you there when you were talking about just after the only girl in high school and 48. I think you were talking about putting in $10,000 to $15,000 in improvements.
Yes, let me get right back onto here. We love our technology, don't we? It's both. It's a powerful source. Can you hear me? Am I back?
Yep.
Am I back? Great. Let's take a look then. And now that we've talked about being the only girl in high school, right, to add some fun to this, let's talk about the 3 different ways to acquire any asset. So first of all, if you're buying real estate or a small business, which is the topic here, there's 3 places to get it. Your own capital or you and your partners. That's one way to buy the asset. Number 2 is to go get it from someone else. Again, that's friends and family or a bank. Number 3 is when you're in negotiation with that seller, it's a business that you like. You've used a lot of your Rolodex and deal flow, as we call it. So you're not desperate for this deal. Mindset is key, right? Plan and psychology is the root of good deals. You look at that seller and say, listen, I'm going to put 10 to 15% into this business over the next 4 to 8 months. That's standard. So 100 grand business acquisition, do the numbers, about 15,000 is out of pocket anyway. There is an investment as the new buyer. That's largely into marketing, tightening up structure and operations, firing a couple people, hiring someone new, those kinds of things. And the reality is, by having a strong deal flow, that's putting you in a position of posture. And the business that I just bought in February, and at some point I'd be happy to share granular, is I got in where literally the first 2 weeks, I didn't put any cash out of my pocket. I structured the deal so I have 4 equal payments based on cash flow the next 4 years, a single payment in January 2021 and following. And guess what? I pulled 20 grand out of that business in the first month after acquisition. So in my case, to have enough cash flow, it was a service business. Those are the kinds of things, the magic that can happen. Now, that didn't happen overnight. I looked at about 4 months of deals. So I don't want to oversimplify this. But the bottom line is, don't think the money's got to come from me or even bother an Uncle Louie or Aunt Sue, even your brother. Ask the seller for that financing. Why would they do that? Number one, it shows good faith. Anyone selling you a relatively high risk asset like a business that wants to grab the cash, take all the money and run, to me is a red flag. I want someone, an older seller, for example, to be a part of this business, to transition, help me be successful, help you transition well. That to me shows good faith on the seller financing. And again, I'm very successful at getting usually as much as 70% finance. I don't think I've paid more than half cash down for a long time.
Wow, that's pretty good. So Nathan, any questions on your end?
Yeah, I know we covered this before, but especially right now with everything that's going on, what are your opinions about which types of businesses are smart to invest in a down economy and will still bring in returns when the economy's down?
Question. The word would be inelastic. In other words, death and taxes, for example, are the two realities that were talked about, right? And I'm not in the morgue or funeral business, just for disclosure. I'm into life. I love being with you gentlemen on this great show. I love to smile. But taxes, for example, is inelastic. So is plumbing, heating, commercial HVAC is an excellent sector. Unfortunately, I didn't chase a price last year. Locksmith, collection companies, auto dealerships, people during a recession tend to fix their old stuff. And that goes along with the renovation business, typically goes up. You know, and you bring up something important, Nathan, is that really you're an expert in your own sector. Many of these listeners may own one business or a couple, but stay within your sector. This is a time to de-risk, even though I point out the great opportunity, and I don't think we've even hit some of the challenges. Stay with what you know. Service businesses, again, are my favorite right now, just because you still need to pump the activity. You still need to fix the house, the car as well. So I'm pouring more capital into those. I have a used auto dealership. I'm seeing the service side as well as the maintenance side and parts go up dramatically.
So a question that I have then, James, is the other thing, because you talked about it, it's like anything else that you're looking to buy, you have to go out there and do your research. Mm-hmm. And even more intensely than looking for real estate, for example. You know, the average, they say if you're going to look for a good real estate deal, you should look for anywhere from 50 to 100 homes or properties or whatever that looks like. You know, for someone that's jumping in, what's your advice for newbies in terms of, you know, what should they be looking for? You know, what's a typical volume? What's the process?
Yeah, there's 3 steps to it. And you pointed out the toughest step is just having the tenacity or the team to do deal flow. That means if I'm buying a home, for example, or real estate, and the topic now is a small business, go on to Biz Buy Sell. Go on to the broker generated sites, businessesforsale.com, and get familiar with the process. Just window shop. Think of the funnel that we use for marketing and sales and a lot of what we do. But please get in there and get knowledgeable there. Number 2, have some conversations. You hit on about the ideal number. 50 to 100 is about the number I'll review, whether that's a light review or 5 to 15, an in-depth review, before I make an offer on a business. You don't have to do it all yourself. This is a great idea, and this could be a future chat, to have your assistant help you. Your PA, personal assistant, or VA can handle these administrative tasks, even international individuals. So I have a deal flow team. That's one of the things that I do. That's one of my competitive edges. And they're looking at deals every day, calling on brokers, emailing them, again, setting up the sales and marketing. Either make it informal from your laptop, from the beach, the boat, or the Fleetwood, or begin to turn it into a business. And that's my first suggestion, is just try before you buy anything and negotiate. That's critical.
So from a mindset perspective, because I real estate's one of my passions, is when you find something and you're just so gung-ho and you're like, wow, this is an awesome deal. I can picture it. I see the vision. I know what this can do. And then something comes in, it's kiboshed. So what kind of mindset do you need in order to be successful at buying a business? Because it's bound to happen, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And I think you bring up something that's critical, and you share it here on the Male Entrepreneur, is you require a community, meaning big picture and small picture. So please don't do this alone. Yeah, you can. And a few people are very good at it. They end up buying a few deals. But no, please join a community like yours for mindset. And then I would also advise you to have a good enough CPA or attorney, or again, Uncle Louie or Aunt Sue, that are confident in what they do. So no one has the right picture. I guess you do most of the time. I sure enjoy your posts and feeds. But truly, I mean, have additional individuals to help you. Part of that mindset comes from having trusted individuals. I myself have a small team around me. Usually I even ask my wife about something. I finally learned after a very long time who the true boss is. So that's my suggestion. Don't do it alone.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've been more cognizant about sharing that information with my wife as well. Because as men, I think sometimes we want to shelter, or we don't want to look a certain way or look weak. But I think women appreciate that, just having that open conversation to say, you know what do you think about this?
I agree. And if you get in real trouble, and as long as you're doing the right things, then you can beg forgiveness, right?
Yeah, exactly. A screw up here or two is okay, right?
That's right. So I can always sell this asset, honey. Buy low, sell high. See, in 2023, the market will be back.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do want to add that to the mindset piece. Please think double vision. Please think that what you're looking at today, either your enthusiasm or mine, your opportunity will change. So as that relates to both the fear in your gut as you go into that new business, wondering why the keys don't work, you did get the cash out of the account, please realize things will be very different soon. And again, I come back to what you shared. I'm being aggressive here. I have an acquisition team to buy at least 4 more businesses this year, if the market allows, if the deals are there. Please be aggressive on what you do and enjoy the breakthroughs. There's a team out there waiting to help you. Open up.
I have a question real quick. So I would assume there's probably 2 main reasons that people would be looking to sell their business. Number one, they've built a successful business. They're tired of it. They want to retire, or they want to move on to something else, and they want to get what the business is worth. And then number 2, the business isn't working. They have no idea how to turn it around. It might just be a lemon of a business, and they're trying to sell it before they lose everything that they sunk into it. As a buyer, what are some of the things that you look for to let you know what type of situation you're dealing with?
That's a great question, Nathan. I would come to the idea of criteria in terms of your thinking. Realize once you get an offer accepted, meaning you're under contract, much like a house, you have 30 to 90 days, even longer. I just went under contract on a deal. So I have 120 days to actually review that business. You want to use time and a cautious dance. Once you find the business that you like, remember there's 2 ways to do it, either sitting at home with your team, using your assistant, or turning this into a machine to find them. But once you find a business, make an offer and go enter an LOI, letter of intent, or an IOI, indication. Then realize all you've done is say, hey, we're on the dance floor now. We're beginning to check you out. When you look at the financial details, and then you involve your CPA to go deeper, when you involve your lawyer, you're cautiously protecting yourself. You want to go slow on the due diligence side, and you've set your criteria by then. An example is the culture is one of the trickiest things in a small business. Realize an owner founded it. If the owner is sour and mean and not a team player, pushes too hard for profits, the balance sheet might have looked good, for example, but the culture is one of fear. And when you come on as the new owner, you've just bought into that. Vice versa, if you have a sloppy seller, someone that has not done a good job, or worse, fraudulent, then you also need and want to find that out, both from a strict numbers standpoint and a soft standpoint, the culture side. You have time, and you want to determine, of course, early whether or not the business has, what the motivations are of the seller, That should be done, though, to your point about the time you're signing your initial contract. That gives you time, 3 to 4 months to do it. That's sort of the simple answer with some granular ag. Take your time, be willing to walk.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, you guys have heard it from the pro here. I highly recommend that you go check out James's, I'm going to say work, but James, where can, first of all, I want to thank you because it's always a pleasure. And I want to, when you buy your next business, I want to have you back on because I think we should go into a little bit more detail and give listeners the next step and give them some ideas. So thank you for coming onto the show. It's always a pleasure to have you. Where can people go to find out more about what you do?
Yes, good idea. Please have them go to my website. That's Bear, BAREINTL. So Bear International, but make sure it's BARE and also INTL.com. And next time I will have a landing page and something for us as well. How's that for a promise? So there's some free goodies on there or areas to find pain and next steps. I look forward to sharing this niche. Warren Buffett says, you know who's not wearing pants when the tide goes out. This winter season is a great time to find out and go buy some businesses to those who are clothed, those that are profitable. Consider this leverage. Thank you, male entrepreneur Purdeep, Nathan, for letting me be on. I love it. You guys are great.
Thank you for coming on. If people want to check out more episodes of this podcast, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, you got 2 places. You can check out youtubeformen.com and mailpodcast.com.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And until next time, we will catch you later.
Till next time.
Bye.